trees have grown in there, and you know it don't take a long time for a tree to grow on a lot.
It does.
The house was there before. So I'm just saying I want some justice. That's all I want.
Yes, sir.
I'm being civil. I'm not going up. I'm just trying to let you know.
I appreciate
I'm
it.
just satisfied.
All right, and you know I've got your number.
I pay my taxes. I do. And I just want some. I want some what the other people to get.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, I mean, you all come out there two or three times a week and pick the paper up but these people, you got to let them know that they can't get away with this. The garbage can is put there. They'll turn the garbage can over. They're out of hand.
I got your number, and I've got these 4 things, so I am going to send this to the appropriate departments. Thank you, Mr. Page. Next citizen signed to speak is Mr. Jody Jobson. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jody Jobson. My address is 1534 Bellwood Lane, Northport. Thank you for taking my comments this afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank Councilman Roberts for his comments last week regarding spending. His statement about looking down the road for future costs of current spending was very good. Careful and selective spending, looking to the future benefits with heavy future expenses is the key. As you know, I'm an ardent supporter of the youth recreation activities in our city. Investment in an improvement and enlarged Kentuck Park or finding a new park site should be a highest priority. An upgraded ballpark facility would not only enhance the experience of youth baseball as well as softball, including girls fast pitch, but also be a way to attract area, state tournaments to Northport. These tournaments are bringing parents, grandparents, friends who contribute to the local economy and sales tax base through spending in our local restaurant stores in the upcoming 3-star hotel as well as other items. In order to make this investment ongoing and productive, an increase in the sales tax is needed, and it needs to be earmarked in the current resolution or ordinance rather than having it earmarked in the general fund budget every year. I'm not a person who would say raise taxes. However, we need a safe and updated place for our children to participate in sports activities, and if we don't do it today, it probably won't ever get done. So I'm asking you, like I said, I don't like taxes either, but look around us. Greene County, Pickens County, Tuscaloosa's fixing to do it. You got towns smaller than us, you got towns larger than us that are putting them 1 cent. We can use ours to make this town bust wide open. But in order to do that, you're going to have to take Mr. Roberts' advice, and that's careful spending and not wishing the whole thing just pop up. And what's it going to cost us down the road? An investment in recreation for these kids in Northport is going to be one of the best investments you people have ever made in your life as members of the city council, because they're going to make an investment in their kids, and it's going to go on and on and on. So I thank you for your time, and I hope you listen.
Thank you, Mr. Jobson. I don't have any more signed comments, but again, if there's a member of the community wanting to come up and speak so we can get it on record. Yes, sir. Come on up, please. Please come on up. Please state your name and address for the record.
Aaron Randall. I live in Councilman Davis' ward. My address is 13824 Monroe Avenue, Forest Glen subdivision there. I don't know, was it completed? The last time I talked to Councilman Davis, he was telling me about around the 19th or the 18th about the draining of the swamp back there. Yeah, and the last meeting I couldn't make it. We was out of town, So I came today for to see what's any progress due to that situation.
The beaver dam is dry.
It's dry.
Dry. Our attorney, Ron Davis, can vouch for that too. He went by to look at it, and it's dry.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any further comments from citizens? Yes, sir. Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Jim Bennett. I live at 3713 Biscayne Hills Drive. I've been listening to all of this, and it seems like government always finds more excuses and reasons to raise taxes rather than to try to figure out what to do with the money you've already got. I'm totally opposed to this. I think it's wrong, and I think we need to back up and look at what we're doing with what we got. And that's really all I've got to say on it.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett.
Other than anybody that does vote for it, I will not vote for it.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Any other further comments, citizens? Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. Sean Blackburn, 809 8th Avenue, Northport, Alabama, 35476. Permission to speak freely. In the last election cycle, I had an opportunity to run against our esteemed council president, Councilman Logan. And one of the things I talked about then and I talk about now, and that is Northport being a diamond in the rough, about Northport recognizing and realizing its potential. And I asked the question then and I ask it now. If not now, then when? If not now, then when? Yes, the city has done a remarkable job, I think. I think the city administrator has been financially responsible. We can pay our bills. We can fund small dollar projects. We can fill job vacancies. However, I still ask the question though, if not now, when? You know, do we continue to manage those sometimes by crisis mode? Because surely we have some infrastructure that needs some improvements. Do we continue to ask, you know, what about this restaurant or that restaurant? What about this business or that business? Why can't our kids have better facilities to play on? So I still ask the question, if not now, when? We have an opportunity for some revenue. And I stand in confirmation that that's exactly what we need to do so that we can upbuild our city. I'm concerned again that if it's not now, then when? I ask that question and I ask it over and over. So I stand in support of the tax incentive. And I hope that we can bring that to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blackburn. Any further citizens? Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record.
Chuck Gordeau, 3909 Northwood Lake Drive West, Northport. Thank you for taking my comments this evening. First thing on the sales tax, possible sales tax increase. If you do go forward with that, I would just ask a couple of things. First one is, and I brought this up in the past, that you borrowed $2 million out of the Water and Sewer Fund back in 2016. If you do pass it, I'd like to see that paid back. I mean, that was borrowed from the citizens, in my opinion, to probably make payroll and make expenses. And I'd like to see that paid back. I think a lot of people would. And the second thing on that is, if it is passed, those things, if you're going to spend it like on Kentuck or redoing ball fields or whatever the project could be, that those items be earmarked within the resolution. I wouldn't say pass it, then have it sitting there in the general fund, and then later on you make the decision. Because later on, you may not be in office, it may be somebody else, right? So I would ask it that if you do that, place it in the resolution ordinance or whatever the mechanism is. The other thing is on the lodging tax, which I think you said you were gonna increase, from 9 to 11. Okay, is that a lodging tax that was implemented back in 2001? Or do you know when that was?
I have to find that for you. I'm not sure
Okay.
when it was implemented.
Okay, where do those lodging taxes, and I'm just asking the question, I apologize. Where do those lodging taxes go to? Does that go into the general fund, or does that go towards specific, projects?
I would have to check on that too, Chuck. I don't wanna tell you nothing
Okay.
inaccurate.
Because I remember, back in 2001, there was a, resolution ordinance passed, what they call the sin tax.
Mm-hmm.
And that was passed by Bob Rust. I think he was sort of the one that was spearheading that. And that money was supposed to go towards parks, where you would, say, have a small park in the community. They call them pocket parks or whatever the term would be. And I know that the community center park was fixed up. Remember the old tennis courts behind it? They tore all those down, put in a new park back there. I think one at Fossa Vestavia was installed, and maybe the one at Flatwoods. I can't remember all the parks. About 2007, 2008, that money was no longer used. As far as I can read the financial reports, and it wasn't until 2016, another 8 years later, that money was used towards anything other being put into the general fund, which that money was used towards giving towards para. I think it was $125,000 a year. I think that's been done in the last 2 or 3 years. So I was just curious to know if this particular lodging tax is the same one. Is it being increased 2%? And where would that money go to? Is it that original sin tax from 2001, or is it something different?
We'll have to confirm and clarify if that's the same from 2001. And I think saying it without saying it, Chuck, you want to make sure that if it is, you want to see that money be earmarked.
I'd like to see the money go towards it was originally meant to go towards.
Okay.
Because it was not for a number of years. It just was put into the general fund, and
Okay.
who knows where it went to.
Just to clarify, I know you were saying city 2 million. I think the debt reduction thing is important. Right now, the city is currently doing that back to water and sewer. However, you get an extra penny, you could actually accelerate those debt payments, and then that will actually free you up to maybe go out and look at some larger bond payments if council so chooses to do so. But the debt reduction is important. I think everybody up here can basically say, yeah, that'd be one thing that we would look at doing. Meaning, looking at if you've got some things to pay off, pay it off. Reduce your debt. Some things you can't do it just because of bonds are structured and the scheduling of payments of bonds. Some things you can't pay off. But the things that you can, I think you should be able to do it, and I think you should. And I think you need to look at doing that. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Right, I wasn't specifically
Mhm.
talking towards bonds or anything like that, just that specific debt.
Yeah, that actually could be accelerated. Right now we're paying that and paying it pretty good at a good clip. If you look at that last audit, if you remember, we're actually paying down bills pretty good. Cash on hand is pretty good, but you could be accelerating some payments if you so choose to, and that being one of them. Maybe paying off some things that maybe refinancing, doing some wraparound financing, saving some more money on some things. So there's some, you've got the ability to do some stuff if you smart about it. So I think we're in agreement.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further? Yes, sir. Come on up and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Mike Manson, 13085 Garden Creek Lane. I guess I'd ask some extra consideration be given to this for really two main reasons. First is just one of the critical missions of the city, and the city council inclusive, is retail recruitment and business development. And so we don't have to do what Tuscaloosa is doing necessarily, and in fact we could use it as a differentiating factor to say we hear 1 penny. We 1 penny is what's been said, 1 penny on the dollar, and but the city's component or the city component to that is 2%. I think we're changing that to 3%. So we could say the city's component to our sales tax is 33% better than Tuscaloosa's. We could flip that however we want to, and and we can make that sound pretty positive. Secondly, is that sales tax is generally considered a regressive tax. It is that burden is carried by frequently low and middle income families, and so I might suggest finding that somewhere else, such as our property taxes, very nearly the lowest in the country. I think second lowest or something along those lines, very low, and potentially due for an adjustment, only because I do acknowledge and recognize that sometimes tax increases are necessary to support progress and support new projects to support everybody, the kids and everybody else, and our education system. And so there may be other opportunities there that could, number one, change who is responsible for that generating that revenue, and then also supporting our mission to bring further development to Northport. So, thank you, everybody. Appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Any further comments from citizens? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. Item 14 is mayor and council members' business. I'll start with the Honorable Mayor Donna Aaron.
I don't have anything further, thank you.
District 1, Councilman Roberts.
I don't have anything particularly for the district. I would like to, I know Mr. Hanson from zoning and planning, and it's kind of refreshing to see some new faces come up here. But you were correct. Alabama is 49th or 50th in revenue from property tax. And in my 5 short years here, I think I've been threatened a couple of times whenever I've mentioned property tax, because in Alabama you don't talk about property tax. But income tax, we're right in the middle at 26, but we are 14th, 12th in the nation in income from sales tax. It is a very regressive tax, and I particularly don't like it. But just so everybody understands, the 2% sales tax would be about $4 million. In order to generate that same revenue here in the city, we would have to have $200 million move into the city. And to make that a little more realistic, that's like 10 grocery stores or 5 Home Depots or something of that nature. So I'm not saying whether I'm for it or against it, but I think everybody needs to understand the significant impact of the numbers that we're talking about from a revenue generation standpoint. I still stand by that. I think governments are horribly inefficient in spending our own tax dollars, and better plans have to be made. And I challenged the council last time to come up with a better mousetrap, so to speak. So that's all I got.
All right, thank you, Councilman. District 2, under my business, I wanted to give an update on the MLK improvement project. Currently, it sits, or ALDOT has reviewed our Section 4F document. That's the document to make sure that any affected properties, so to speak, have been vetted and given the due diligence and the process required based on federal guidelines. So ALDOT has reviewed that document, and they submitted it to FHWA for review. And again, that's a 90-day process from May just passed. So we're within that 90-day process. So hopefully by the end of August, we should get some replies, good, bad, or indifferent. So again, we'll check back with FHWA for some updates, but the project's still rolling along. Once we get some comments back late August, hopefully, we will come back to the engineering firm, which they're at 70% design complete. So once we get that, we should start the process of hopefully going through rights of ways acquisitions and hopefully bid letting construction. So project's on track. It's a little slower than I think everybody on this council mayor's office would like to see it, but nonetheless, it is a process, and that's the federal government. They're a Maserati without a motor. I stand corrected. All right. District 3, Councilman Hinton.
None tonight.
Thank you. District 4, Councilman Davis.
I have none tonight.
District 5, Councilman Hogg.
I got a few things. Number one would be very disheartening to hear of Rose. I guess couldn't really say departure without accepting, but we do need to put that in the back of our mind, like Higginbotham had said. I think by next council meeting, we probably need to look and see what road we want to go down to on something on that. So, I do think that's important. We have a lot of things coming up that we need to make sure, that all departments, including city administrator, planning department, et cetera. Glad to see finance department is going now with Mr. McGee, here, so appreciate him coming on board as well. Second thing, I guess, would be, we've heard public comment tonight on this tax. Put together the ideas of what the citizens have stated tonight. Also, we did get departmental views on things that are in need here in the city at different departments. Need to get a plan together to see, weigh out the pros and cons to see what's the best way to go. I do think that if this sales tax were supported and we decided to go that route, that debt reduction is a huge part of this. We have a lot of things that that we could really tackle and kind of push this forward to better ways for our future. The last thing I'd like to say is, I know I put this on social media with just throwing this out there. There was a question that was asked. It was like, what would you like to see with if there was a 1-cent sales tax? Of course, I looked at it as not only as a councilman, but as a person, as a husband, as a father of children, things that I wanted to see. I know we didn't get into many things tonight in terms of what those might be, but I'm just trying to think outside the box on, it's not always, let's go to general fund and let's just pay salaries and let's increase and let's do this. But I do think we need to have a pay plan here for our city, and we need to commit to it. There have been times in the past that pay plans have not been committed to. And this council and mayor has taken a strong approach to taking care of our employees and making them feel wanted, and trying to do the best that we can to move our city forward. As a parent, I know we do not have a school system, but I'd love to see if we couldn't do something as a collaboration with our school system. Have police officers in every school. Want to make sure that our pre-K programs are funded. I, along with Mr. Jobson, I'm in full support of a baseball and softball complex. It is lacking in Northport. We have the best set of kids and the best set of ball teams anywhere around here. People all over the state know Northport, Alabama, and they know that our kids can play ball. And when you go to these other cities and you're playing, you really get a wide opening, I guess, of what other cities can do and what it does to your city in terms of your retail, your lodging, and bringing outsiders in, spending their tax dollars here. And I think that's a big thing. With the new baseball, softball complex, I would like to see, personally, 8-field minimum. I'd like to see that each field have its own batting cages and covered bleachers to keep the families out of the hot sun. I'd like to see that we relinquish Warrior Baseball from maintenance and allow our partnership with Para to handle the maintenance. Warrior Baseball could lower their costs with registration and still use that for uniforms and everything else, but they don't have that issue of having to deal with the maintenance and the upkeep of the area. It would not be a para league, it would just be para maintaining the fields. Personally, I would like to see that we tear down the existing ball fields at Kentuck, move that somewhere else, somewhere that we can grow around that, and turn that into the largest green space that Northport has ever seen, including a new Northport Community Center. a new state-of-the-art playground for kids of all ages, including those with disabilities. Huge walking track around the perimeter for walkers, runners, bicyclists. And then also, I'd like to see us try to piggyback on something that Tuscaloosa does. They do a great job with their Live at the Plaza, which is a family event that people go to, listen to local artists, play music. It supports local business. People are eating out. People are going there. You could have food trucks, and it's just a great way for community involvement. I'd like to see us do something like that. As Mr. Page said earlier, and I wanted to piggyback on what he said, basically I think what Mr. Page was saying was he was for sales tax increase.
I couldn't get him on the record. I was trying, but I couldn't.
I was going to ask. Green Village is, we've looked at it. To pave Green Village, it's going to be about $300,000. I mean, we get about $125,000 or $100,000 a year in paving.
It's per district.
Per district.
Okay. Yep.
I mean, that's a big deal. So his wish list of paving is more than what we get per district.